Today is the day many in France have been looking forward to. Bars and restaurants are open once more, offering a sense of normal after strict lockdown over the COVID-19 pandemic. But as Evelyn Laverick reports, the newfound freedoms do come with restrictions.
It's a day much of France has been waiting for, the return of what goes to the heart of French life. Bars, cafes and restaurants reopen today after weeks of lockdown. In Paris, restaurants and bistros are only allowed to open their terraces to guests because the coronavirus threat still exists. Many sites and museums are also allowed to open again, and significantly, the French are regaining their freedom to travel. A 100-kilometre limit has been lifted.
It's been very stressful, especially having family in the south of France. It wasn't easy. Our elders needed help. It's great to have this newfound freedom.
But the Dutch are one step ahead. Their cafes and bars reopened 24 hours earlier. According to the rules, a maximum of 30 people are allowed in restaurants, cafes, theatres, concert halls and cinemas, as long as the 1.5-metre social distancing rules can be kept.
We took the opportunity to sit on the terrace. It's very important, right? These people were out of work for months, and now it was finally possible for them to reopen. I couldn't wait.
In Spain, on the day that it reported 0 deaths from COVID-19 for the first time since March, much of its population moved into phase 2 of lockdown easing. It includes giving secondary schools the option to reopen with classes no bigger than 15 pupils.
Teachers wear a mask, but students are not required to wear one, although we recommend it. They have to keep the minimum safety distance.
In the UK, it's the youngest pupils who are returning to school, well, some of them. The government has been criticised for easing lockdown restrictions too fast, and many parents and teachers alike have their reservations.
We think it's too early. We think the case number needs to be lower, and we think the contact tracing really needs to be working. And in those concerns, we're supported by many eminent scientists.
But ministers say opening schools will help with childcare for parents returning to work and help youngsters catch up with missed lessons. Evelyn Laverick, Euronews.
Well, let's go to France's capital in Paris and speak to our international correspondent Annelise Borges, who is there for us. Annelise, morning to you. So Evelyn put it really as a return of what goes to the heart of French life. You know, restaurants reopening. It's phase 2 of deconfinement. That's how it's been called in France rather than lockdown. Tell us what really changes as of today.
Hi there, Rosie. Well, for the French, today marks the return to an almost normal life. Those were, in fact, the words of France's Prime Minister, Edouard Philippe, when he announced phase 2 of the easing of the lockdown a couple of days ago. So from today, cafes and restaurants, schools, amusement parks, theatres and concert halls, as well as hotels and museums, will be able to resume activities in so-called green zones around the country. That means the states, the regions where the new coronavirus is circulating, but less actively. And that is the whole of France, with the exception of Guyane, Mayotte, and the region around the French capital that is considered an orange zone. Over here, we are also going to see the easing of the lockdown, but this process is going to be, quote unquote, more prudent. Cafes and restaurants, for example, will be able to receive their clients from today, but only in their open terraces. We're also seeing schools reopen over here, but under a very strict health protocol with a limited number of students, and gatherings of more than 10 people continue to be prohibited. There are also limitations, restrictions around the metro here in Paris, especially around rush hour. So there is a sense that we are beginning to see the return of normality, but these remain exceptional times here in France, and authorities have been adamant that their priority is the health of the French public, and they are ready to reimpose lockdown rules if they see the number of COVID-19 infections rise once again.
Annelise, thank you very much. Our international correspondent speaking to us from what looks like a glorious day in Paris.